Welcome to Growin It. I'm Andy Huddleston with Wyatt Insurance, and today we're sitting with Adam Slack, the founder of Two Roads, an online accounting company. And before you hit pause or get out of this page, Two Roads has really made accounting interesting, and they do it differently, and that's what we want to talk to Adam about today.
Yeah.
So, Adam, could you just explain real in generic terms kind of what a traditional accounting looks like and how Two Roads does it differently?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not an accountant by trade, so I don't have an accounting degree. Actually, I think I struggled through my 2 accounting classes in college. So I agree. When people ask me what I do, and I say, "Oh, I've got a little bookkeeping company," and they kind of turn the other way in the party, I'm like, "Whoa, it's more fun than that. Give me a chance at least to talk about it." So I appreciate you asking the question. Traditional bookkeeping, accounting in companies it's the back office, And so what does that mean? What's different about Two Roads versus the literal back office of a company? We take that all and we put it in the cloud. Now, I know that's kind of like the buzzword of 2010 that we're still hanging on to, but we outsource it. We have created technology and systems and software, not created. We utilize technology, systems, and software to be able to take all that work that was traditionally being done in the literal back office, and we put it in the web. So we've got folks in 12 or 15 states now, probably should know that exact number. Staff members. So they can work remote because we want the best talent that we can find. So we cast a net wide to find people. But because we're in the cloud, because we can outsource all of that, it makes that possible. We've got customers in 27 states. So it creates this environment where we've got super efficiencies because we don't have the friction associated with that physical presence in the building. Now, some bookkeepers might be listening, or business owners might be listening, that's my spouse, or that's the first hire I made, or that's, I've been at the company for 30 years. I realize that. And we're not in the business of going and getting people fired. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just simply saying this is where the market's headed. Like, it's moving this direction. And so Two Roads, where I think we're different than that traditional bookkeeping back office structure of a business, is we're going to stay in the very front of the market. And if we're going to be successful, it's because we're staying in cutting edge technology to drive this product better, cheaper, faster. That doesn't mean the least expensive. It just means we're going to be the best at what we do. So it's fun. It's disruptive, and I think from a non-accountant business owner, great-grandfather was a business owner, my grandfather was a business owner, my dad was a business owner. It's a lot of fun to try. 8-year overnight success story is kind of what we're dealing with. We've been pedaling for a long time, and I would say we're just now starting to see the fruits of that. So it's been a lot of fun to disrupt the industry a little.
8 years, I've been watching the progression and the evolution of Two Roads. So take us back in time 8 years ago. Why did you start without any kind of background in a bookkeeping accounting firm?
You mean why does a non-accountant start an accounting company?
Yes.
Well, it was actually this really brilliant idea that we had called the 2008 recession. And so it came along and kind of told us we had to do something else. We were in the book industry. And so my family had been in the book industry since the 80s. And, I joined in 2001. We were in Pigeon Forge. We were doing kind of gray market books. And we thought we were insulated from the Amazons of the world. And then in 2008, everybody just stopped traveling. So that, the people that were really hit by the subprime mortgage market and the mortgage industry in general were the people that were car travelers to Pigeon Forge. And so from 2008 to 2010, we cleaned up, that business going down. And it was just I needed a job. I think that's how some entrepreneurs get started, is like, what do you like to do? What are you somewhat decent at? And, let's go try to hang a shingle and see if we can figure it out. So I ran the accounting department for my family businesses. And we had about 6 different companies that we served, and one of them was not owned by us. We help Carm Thrift Stores. My family runs all the Carm Thrift Stores in Knoxville. And so we had these 6 different entities, and we had to build an accounting department to serve them. And the entities were based in geographical locations that were not in where our main offices were. So because of that, we just kind of had to build systems and processes to be able to serve them. So 2008 happened, 2010, those 2 years, my wife and I were evaluating what we were going to do, and it just made sense for us to go ahead and launch. So Two Roads was born. Actually, it wasn't called Two Roads. It was called Simcoe Financial Services.
That sounds so catchy. I'm
Doesn't
glad
it?
you switched the name. So when did the ideas for Two Roads and kind of the processes that you wanted to do differently than the marketplace, when did that come about?
I did know, I'm a logistics guy, so my background was in systems and processes, and so I definitely get passionate about that and get excited about that. When we started Two Roads, we tried to apply as best we could systems, even though looking back at it, I know it was only 8 years ago, looking back at it, they were incredibly archaic. So we would force people to get a P.O. box. We would get the paper, we had these little boxes, and we would put the paper in to be processed, and we would turn the box around when it was processed. We built all these systems around doing accounting efficiently with a lot of paper. And, we realized in probably the first year how much we were going to have to move with technology, which was a good thing because it kind of indoctrinated us into who we were going to be in the future. But it definitely was a very, very steep curve in terms, and we were doing something that, looking back at it at the time, now there's a lot of these businesses out there, but at the time there wasn't. And so we would go into companies and we're an outsourced accounting company. You can outsource your accounting to us, and they'd just be like, how do you do that? Mm-hmm. Because payroll they understood, insurance they understand, like these things that you don't keep them in house anymore. But accounting, my accountant,
we've always done that in-house, right?
In-house. Like that was my first hire, was an administrative person that did my books for me. You know what I mean? So they just didn't understand the concept of it. I wrote a letter one time. We had a customer that joined up with us, let's say in June, and they stayed with us for about a year, maybe 14 months, and we just had some fits and starts with that customer, and it wasn't really a good fit, and it was really our fault, and they ended up leaving. I wrote them a letter thanking them because those early customers taught us what we needed to do to be able to be successful today. So the only reason we're here today is because we had people early on that would give us a try. But things like, I remember going over to Claris Networks, which was an old IT company in town. I remember going over probably 6 months into Two Roads history, and I took a blank check. I went to I wrote up Claris Networks, and I put it on this desk, and I said, I have no idea what the cloud is, but I know that we can't keep trading these thumb drives with customers. Like, we have to get a technology that allows us to put the accounting software into a position where the customer, the employees, we can all work on it together. And I said, here you go, I trust you. And I slid the blank check across him, and he was like, okay, I mean, this was dramatic, but I get your point. I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, I need it right now. Like, I needed it yesterday. Like, we were literally taking thumb drives from customers' office, and I had a runner that would go around and get all these thumb drives, bring them back, plug them in, do the paper processing, get the thumb drive, take it back to the customer's office, try to keep the files up to date. I mean, it was crazy.
But once you got a handle on the cloud and how to store information there, pretty much from that point on, you required your customers, if they wanted to do business with you, this is just the way we do it. We integrate with technology.
That's right.
And it may be foreign, but please trust us, right?
If our company is the best at that, then theoretically, I'm going to be driving the most efficient solution to any business owner. When people say like, oh, Two Roads, look at the success you guys have had, I'm very quick to say this was right place, right time. I mean, if you know about software as a service and what software as a service has done over the last really 10 years, we just kind of got on that wave and hung on tight and built the stack that makes accounting really efficient.
Right. You took one person doing all these different accounting functions, and then you brought it in-house, and I don't want to misspeak, but you have people here that would do all these different things, and this is all they do, so we're able to be more efficient.
Yeah, and I'd say that's probably version 6.0. So I mean, it wasn't at the early days.
Sure.
So a lot of times when I talk to a business owner, I'll say, have you ever felt like your accounting department has got keys to the castle that you don't have, to where they feel kind of handcuffed? Like I don't really know everything that goes on in their world. I don't really know, what's going to happen if they quit on me, if they move on me, if they have a child. Like, any of these things are heart race moments for them. And so what we did was we really neutralized that by going in and saying, we can take different pieces of software that do different things really well, and we can give those pieces of software to different people. So I can take one person, Betty, we're picking on a name, I don't have any of those, I don't think, but we can go and say, Betty used to do all these things, and if Betty got sick, everybody freaked out. Now we can take it and we can say, your AP person can do this. Here's going to be who does your bank recs. Here's who's going to be handling your financial statements and sending them to you and answering your questions when you get that IRS notice or whatever else it may be. that is two things. One, it's forward. It's assembly line. Again, drives costs down. We're a market-driven company. The market's going to dictate what we can charge. By driving those costs down, we're going to be able to, frankly, maximize margins during the midst of the market shifting. And then two, it creates experts. So I now have someone who's really good at generating those reports and getting them to you in a timely fashion. I've got someone who's really good at making sure that the AP is handled and taken care of in a timely fashion. So it's kind of it's a both and for us and the market, which I think is why, 8 years later, we're not having to explain as much. We're still having to explain a little bit, but it's becoming a little bit more out there, I think.
And because of that, you've been able to pick up partners, you call clients partners, in different areas, right? They don't have to be located here. You're not always going to their office. You can serve them from wherever they are.
Yep, and I'm going to probably butcher this number. I probably should have looked at this. I didn't know this question was coming, but I think we're in 27 states.
Wow.
And we've got over 250 customers, and it's really geographically neutral. And they're getting to us because your brother married somebody, they moved away, and you were talking about it over Christmas dinner, and they say you need to use this company, Two Roads, because even our customers here locally in Knoxville, we're still a Knoxville company. We love Knoxville. We're doing a couple of different initiatives with Two Roads, where we've kind of got these little sub brands that we're slowly building. But Knoxville's always going to be like a big core of who we are.
By the way, accounting's never come up at my Christmas table conversation.
It hasn't?
No. I'm not the one bringing it up.
That's probably a good point. It's probably not Christmas Day, but it's probably more a phone call. It's like, help, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I need help.
What do I need to do? Who do I call? Yeah, we do get more people in those kind of transitions.
So tell us, recently, Two Road, you've pivoted along the way, but you started as kind of targeting just small business, and in the last couple of years, you've shifted your focus.
Yeah, so we, I think there's a book by Seth Godin called The Dip.
The what?
The Dip.
The Dip.
Uh-huh. And he talks about, this is a business maturation cycle. So you go out and say, I'm going to hang a shingle and I'm going to sell widgets. I'm going to be the best widget maker that's ever been created. And you go get all your friends and family to buy your widgets, because frankly, that's probably the only people that are going to buy it. So you go to that inner circle and you're like, please buy a widget. And the inner circle will extend trust to maybe their outer circle. And so you really start creating 20 widgets. You have this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And the variation of the product becomes not necessarily so much that you're getting pushed around by the market, but you're trying to figure out what the market is. So your business grows like this because you're just able to do everything. And then you go, I don't like some of these things. They're not profitable. I'm not having fun with them anymore. And so you go through this dip where you start to shed off products and shed off, aspects of your business. Now ours was not so much that as much as it was services within accounting. So we were figuring out these things have value to customers, these things don't have value to customers. Whereas initially we were saying we'll do all of it. Mm-hmm. Now, when we went through that dip, we realized there's certain aspects of accounting that really just have to be bundled together. Like they just want to have all those things. So about 2016, late 2016, I think that's when it was, we launched a little sister company called Atrio, which was for CFO level services, trying to create two businesses that would kind of have differentiation in the marketplace. And Atrio actually wasn't really trying to compete with Two. We saw Two Roads as something that was growing pretty quickly, and we wanted to just kind of keep the gas pedal there. Atrio was going to be this little boutique company in Knoxville. The market won, as it always does, and they came back and said more, and we had customers that were even jumping from Two Roads over to the Atrio product. And so it really caused us to realize late last year that this is really one company. And now we're able to go into any company, from a $250,000 startup to a $30 million multinational e-commerce company. And these are real examples that we've got across our entire spectrum. And we can serve them because we've got the whole suite of services inside there. So it's definitely been a learning curve. But that, if you haven't read The Dip, you need to read it, by Seth Godin.
Seth Godin. So tell me about when, probably another Christmas conversation, right? With some,
probably not.
Probably not. Some business owner, and they've never heard of Two Roads. Mm-hmm. What makes Two Roads different as opposed to, hiring a different accounting firm out there?
That's a great question. Two Roads is different because we're the only accounting department that's going to be thinking about cutting edge technologies to lower cost.
My cost, the
Your
business
cost,
owner's cost.
The business owner's cost. So because we come at this from the perspective of, we realize, now let me say this, that doesn't mean we're the cheapest. It doesn't mean that we're going into customers and saying like, you can get
Right,
our product for cheaper.
Right.
It just means that we think it's the best product for the best price. One of our core values is care. And when we talk about care inside of our company, we say, listen, these folks, Two Roads, the reason the name is what it is, these folks chose a very difficult path. Like starting a business and going out and just trying to convince people to buy your product is a very vulnerable thing. And so when they call us, we've got to listen to them, we've got to care for them, and we've got to be a soft place to land. So I think, what differentiates us, we're the accounting department that you actually enjoy. And I think that's something that resonates with most business owners. When I sit down and talk to them, I say,
they don't enjoy it right now.
They don't enjoy it.
Right.
Is it a core competency in your business? Is it something you enjoy managing? And is it adding value to your customers? And most of the time, their accounting departments don't check any of those boxes. Mm-hmm. We can.
In closing, one of the hearts behind Growin It is to give people who want to start a business a really accurate picture of what that looks like. And we got into business at about the same time. So I've watched Two Roads pivot. I've watched them change. Yeah. Would you, any advice you have, plus just what it looked like in the early days of Two Roads?
I think my wife would probably be the best person to answer that question if you really want to get into the meat of it. I actually told the story yesterday, so I'll jump into it again. But it's hard. It's hard. And I think I said earlier, made a joke about an 8-year overnight success story, because people now are coming and saying, oh, look at Two Roads and look what it's doing, and you're up for this award or whatever else it may be. And I go, it's providence, which is, my Christian way of saying luck. And we were at the right place at the right time. But the first year, I had 4 kids under 5. And actually my oldest just turned 5. My wife called me one afternoon and she said, hey, I'm at the grocery store and I've used all the credit cards. Do we have one that'll work? And I remember thinking like, nope.
We may not. Yeah, no.
I mean, I can go get another one, but we don't have one that'll work. And she had to leave all the groceries in the cart, pile the 4 kids up, load them in the car, and go home while I moved some money around to try to make the situation a little bit better. Now, we did okay, and we made it through, but it was tough. And so I'd say to any business, anybody that's got a desire to be an entrepreneur, don't make any assumptions that you're going to make what you want to make for the first couple of years. Be prepared for it to take twice as long and be twice as hard and cost twice as much. And that's probably conservative, and then listen to customers. I think probably there's a podcast called How I Built This, and there's one of them is the Panera Bread story. It's a great one for business owners to go listen to. And it's basically just the concept of do what you do. You be you. You go out into the marketplace and you start a business that you think is going to be best. And then every single minute you can, listen to customers. As best you can, listen to customers. I try to go sit down with them. I don't do it enough. I don't do it nearly enough. And just say, how are we doing? What do you like? What do you don't like? Even today, we've pivoted about 100 times, not out of accounting, not out of a cloud-based accounting solution, not out of trying to outsource accounting departments for businesses, scale with businesses as much as they want to scale. We've stayed in that lane, in that kind of vertical, but inside that, it would look like about 100 pivots, because we've listened and said, oh, you don't like that, we'll stop. You want more of that, we'll double down.
And I've seen, again, we started at the same time where Two Roads began and where they are now, and how efficient they are, and what types of clients you prospect, and how you serve those clients. It's night and day.
Night and day. Not even, they wouldn't even, and you know what, there's no way in the world I could have told you 8 years ago that the business would look like the way it does. No way. I mean, not even 1 in a million chance. So that's how much you have to embrace change in your business.
Well, thank you for being on our show, and thank you for joining us, and please be on the lookout for the next Growin It video.